Hello there, Eddie Mercado here with BloodyElbow.com, and today I will be speaking with UFC middleweight Anthony Lionheart Smith as he is headed to UFC Fight Night 125 in Brazil on February 3rd to take on the always dangerous Thiago Santos. So let's give Smith a call and find out what he's been doing since his last fight against Hector Lombard, find out what he has in store for Thiago Santos, and maybe his thoughts on traveling once again to Brazil. Mr. Anthony Lionheart Smith, how are you, sir?
I'm good, man. How are you?
I'm doing well. Thank you for taking out the time to speak with me.
Say hi to Joe Warren.
Joe Warren, you cool motherfucker. What's up, dude? I'm such a fan of Joe Warren. You tough bastard, you.
My kids up, so trying to show up the Colorado way.
That's what's up, man. Joe Warren is one of the toughest dudes I've ever had the pleasure of watching fight, man.
That ain't no shit.
Some of
that shit rubs off on me.
What a treat, man.
A single or a double leg too.
Oh man, yeah. Or shit, even the Greco-Roman stuff, man. That's what's up. All right, currently you're on an insane tear. You are 4-2 in the UFC. You've won three straight knockouts. You're headed into UFC Fight Night 125 in Brazil, taking on the ever dangerous Thiago Santos. How are things?
Things are good, man. Things are going really well. I'm just out here finishing my camp up in Denver. I got a couple days left here, and then I'm ready to roll, man. I'm ready to get. I think I leave for Brazil on Monday, so I'm ready to get there, get this weight cut done, and add another W.
Right on. Now, the last time we saw you, you added a rather big name to your list of victims. It was UFC Fight Night 116, Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania. You dusted Hector Lombard in the third round. You put him away with a brilliant combination. After rallying, you were down on the scorecards, and you came back and you put the stamp on him. Now, you've had a little bit of time since then. I spoke to you right afterwards. And now that it's, some time has passed, it's settled in. What are your thoughts on your performance out there?
There's a lot more positives to take from that than negatives, and I mean that in a sense as there was a lot. The fight was long, I finished him at the end of the third, so there was a lot of holes that I seen in my own game that my coach picked apart for us to work on. You go in and you get a fast finish, and sometimes you don't really have anything to see that you can work on, and you can work it in the gym all you want, you can spar all you want, but sometimes you don't see those mistakes come out until you're under stress in that fight situation. So I'm fortunate for that. It was disappointing that I wasn't able to show the performance that I had, that I went over in my head so many times. But, a win's a win, and a win in UFC is something that's hard to do, and I think that gets lost in the shuffle a lot when it comes to fight. Media talking to fighters and fighters, talking about their performances. Winning a fight in the UFC is hard to fucking do, man, and to get a win over a guy like Hector Lombard is something that I'm really proud of. So, it doesn't matter what Hector it is or what anybody wants to say about it. You find too many other people that have beat Hector. It's a small list. So I'm happy with it, man. I got a lot of things to work on from that, and I'm ready to move on.
Well, you say how you're happy with your performance out there, and how a win is one of the toughest things in the world. Getting a win in the UFC, like, let's be honest here. Now, you're a killer, right? Like, proven killer. You've your three straight opponents all bit the dust, and you finished 25 of your 28 victims. That's an insane finishing rate. So I got to ask, do you ever catch yourself, like, sitting in front of a computer screen or something, like, admiring your highlight reel ever?
Nah, man, I hate watching myself fight.
Really?
I can't stand it. Yeah, I can't stand it because I just pick apart the mistakes so often. I can never give myself a chance to enjoy it. Like, sometimes, like, after the fight, it's real cool on Instagram. People just roll the finish. So it's real cool to check out the finishes. But, I don't know. I try not to reflect too much. When you start reflecting, you stop worrying about what you got in front of you. So I've actually finished 26-28. I know that there's one on there that's like it's like undecided on my record or something like that. But that's also a finish.
Okay. That's awesome. I know if it were me, I would be nonstop watching them, like one after another. Every day I'd wake up to it.
I just don't want to. I don't want to get. I don't know. I don't want to get too full of myself. You know what I mean? I like to pride myself on being pretty grounded. Like I talk about all the time. I'm just a Midwest guy from Nebraska, man. I just go in, punch people in the face for money, and leave, and I'm back home with my kids. You know, like I'm not I'm not a superstar. I'm not I'm not out here hanging out with UFC fighters all the time, going to big parties with famous people. That's not my thing. You know what I mean? I'd rather be.
I did just see you hanging out with Joe Warren. He is in the driver's seat right now.
Joe Warren is a superstar, though, man. That when it comes to the mental aspect of MMA and that grind and really figuring out how to take people to Joe calls it the suck. So like take people to that suck. There's no one better in the world that's better at it than Joe Warren. It's just when you talk about mentality, that guy is the mentally strongest person I've ever met. And just being around Joe, it's just that. I don't know, man. It just rubs off on you. You know what I mean? Just being around him, his energy's so high, and you just makes you want to kick people's ass. You know?
Yeah. How'd you even link up with Joe Warren?
Well, I do my training camps in Denver, Colorado, and so my head coach is Mark Martha, who's been Joe Warren's coach for forever, and so me and Joe are teammates and have been for the last year and a half.
Okay, awesome. And what's it like training up at elevation? I mean, do you really notice that big of a difference when you're actually in there competing?
Huge difference, man. It's there's elevation training, there's elevation chambers and hyperbaric chambers and all that kind of stuff, but there's no real substitution for actual altitude. You know, I mean, if I spun the camera around right now, I see nothing but mountains and thin air. You know, it's been something that's been huge for my career because, I mean, let's just be honest, I'm a slow starter, and I've had to be able to pull out wins at the end of the third. Without the conditioning to do that doesn't happen. So I used to be known as the guy that if you could weather the first couple of rounds that, you would beat me. And now I'm the guy that everybody's worried about because I never get tired.
Yeah, and those are the guys that nobody wants to fight. Those guys that come on late. Those are the tough matchups that people tend to avoid or duck, I guess.
I agree.
Well, you're headed to Brazil, man. This is your second time. Your UFC debut was actually in Brazil. How do you feel about returning to the Southern Hemisphere?
And I'm ready to get this monkey off my back, man. It's been a time since I've been in Brazil, and it wasn't so great when I got there. So I'm just ready to go there and sorry about that. I'm just ready to go there and just get that monkey off my back. You know what I mean? And just leave there with the W, impress the Brazilian fans, and just do what I know that I'm capable of doing.
Now, what exactly does the UFC cover expense-wise for their fighters who are traveling abroad?
They cover all of our travel. We get a per diem, and then they fly out one coach. I think title fights, if it's a main event or a title fight, I think they fly out more coaches, but they pay all my expenses, pay the per diem, and fly out one corner. So I'll have 3 coaches there, so that's on me.
Okay, all right. Now, your opponent, Thiago Santos, another killer. He's 16-5 right now in the promotion. 7 of his 8 wins have been finishes. I mean, this dude is a killer, much like yourself. However, he's one of the guys who tends to win early, whereas you like to turn it up late.
Right.
Considering, both of you proven finishers, there's a good chance that this fight ends inside of the distance. But what is the most likely scenario of how this fight will play out?
Likely it's going to be a knockout for me. I know that Thiago thinks that he's a heavy hitter and he's going to knock me out or whatever. But, if you get anybody that hits harder than Hector Lombard, then I'd be really surprised, and I'm sure it's not Thiago. And I took a couple of Hector's cleanest punches. So I'm ready. I'm ready for what he's going to bring in the first round. Hey, I got to check. Hey, check this out. We just picked up we're picking up Joe's kids from school.
Yeah.
And now all his little, look at this. Look at him. We're waiting.
Yeah.
We're waiting.
Awesome.
Okay. So, anyways, yeah, it's going to be a good fight, man. Thiago, he likes to switch his stance. He likes to he likes to flurry. You know what I mean? He fights almost all the way forward or back and straight up. I think I'm more dynamic on my feet. I think I got the better chin. I think I got the better grappling. So I definitely don't see this going to a decision though.
Yeah, and like we spoke last time, and we were talking about how your grappling is severely underrated. I mean, do you think that might be the path of least resistance in this one? Is trying to take it to the ground?
For sure. If Thiago knows if he ends up on his back, he's not getting up again. And unless there's like 10 seconds left in the round. But if there's any time left on the clock and Thiago Santos' back hits the mat, he's not going to get back up. I promise you that. And he knows that. So he knows exactly where his big hole is. He knows exactly where I can take advantage of him the most. But that doesn't necessarily mean that that's where I'm going to go. I mean, I think I can stand and trade with anybody. You know what I mean? I think that's proven and clear. So, you know, I just really going to let him decide wherever he wants to go. If he wants to clinch and end up on his back, that's on him. Bruce
Lee said it best, be like water, right?
Exactly, man.
Now, the last time we spoke, we talked about how the 205-pound weight division might be inevitable for you because the weight class or the weight cut is so brutal, and you said you were going to hit the Performance Institute. What kind of things were you able to learn about your body composition from the Performance Institute?
You know, I didn't actually end up making it out to Vegas. So this time we brought on Icon Meals to do all my meal prepping for this camp. So my weight is a little bit lower than normal. So I'm going to see how this cut goes. I told you guys I'd give it one more shot and see how it goes. So if I can fix the problem and make the weight cut a little bit easier this time around, then, you know, we'll keep on that path. But if this weight cut goes anything like the last two, I'm out. I'm going to 205.
Fair enough. Definitely fair enough. Now, so you're like right there, right? You're like at the cusp of breaking the top 15. And, you know, you need to get bigger name fights, but, you know, you're also trying to get the best deal possible for yourself. So How many fights do you have left on your contract, and what do you think is the best way to kind of navigate your career from here on out?
I got 2 fights left on my deal. As everyone knows, typically people like to renegotiate right before the last fight. So, you know, we'll kind of do, you know, my manager does a really great job, man. Jim Walter, he also manages Stipe. He's great, man. He's been great for my career. He's done a great job at kind of guiding me through the business part of it. So, you know, we'll just let Jim make the decisions for the most part, honestly. If it was up to me, I'd have been at 205 already. So, I think letting Jim and Mark make those decisions it just takes it out of my hands, you know. And I've told myself my New Year's resolution is to be less concerned with the stuff that I can't control. So I'm done getting wrapped up with the politics, the guys saying no, nobody wants to fight, the money. I'm over it, man. I'm over it. I can't control it. I can't control who wants to fight, who doesn't. So I'm just going to control what I can. So from here on out, I'm going to let them make the decisions as far as where my career goes from here.
I dig it. Let the manager make his money, you know.
Exactly.
Now,
what he's paid for.
What do you, I mean, talking about politics, like what do you make of the Ali Act and you know, there's a whole bunch of fighter associations popping up. I mean, what do you make on this? Are you trying to get on board with that, or you think it's silly, or what's your take on that?
You know, I don't really know enough about it to really make a decision. You know, I think that no matter how I feel about it, it's going to happen anyways, or whatever's going to happen is going to happen. So, you know, like you said, Bruce Lee, man, you just got to be like water. Whatever happens, you just got to deal with it as it comes. You know what I mean? Those guys are already in Congress and doing their thing, and whatever that decision is, then we just deal with it when it comes, you know, whether it's good or bad. I do think that there's a lot of questions. There's more questions than answers for sure. So, you know, there was a point when I was really, really against it. And as I've gone, I've learned that I don't really know enough about it to be against it. But I also don't know enough about it to be completely for it. So, you know, we'll just have to see what happens.
I think that's fair. I think that's definitely fair. Now, what do you want for 2018? What are your goals for the sport exactly?
My goal for 2018 is to get inside the top 5. You know, I need to get a finish over Thiago, renegotiate my contract and get a fat check. and start fighting these guys with numbers next to their names. You know, that's the plan. You know, when I signed the contract with Thiago, he was actually ranked, and I believe Paulo Costa took that spot when he beat Johnny Hendricks. So, now he's not. He got bumped out of the rankings there. So, you know, try to maybe get the winner of Derek Brunson or get the loser of Derek Brunson and Jacare. I probably won't get the winner, but
right.
You know, one of those guys, top 10 or higher, hopefully.
I would love to see that. That would be awesome. Definitely awesome.
Oh, yeah. Especially because me and Derek Brunson are such good friends, right?
Well, you got any sponsors or people you would like to give a special thank you or shout out to?
Definitely my family and everyone at Factory X. Icon Meals, for sure. I've done a really good job of helping keep me skinny. And, yeah, Joe Warren. Gonna thank Joe Warren.
The kids in the back.
Warren's kids.
Hello.
Yeah, man. Just everyone who supports me, man. I appreciate it all.
I dig it. Well, for the 1 or 2 people who are not already following you on social media, how can they get at you? How can they follow you along? What are your social media platforms?
My Instagram is Anthony Smith UFC, and then my Twitter handle is @Lionheart Smith. And I do a pretty good job of interacting with everybody. So if you hit me up on one of those platforms, I'll definitely say hi.
We'll go interact with a bunch of little kids that want to take pictures with us.
And right now, we're gonna go take pictures with a bunch of little kids.
Awesome. That's what it's all about, man. Well, Anthony Smith, thank you so much.
We call him the young superstar. I want pictures with the new superstar.
Man, Anthony Smith, always a pleasure. Thank you so much for taking out the time. UFC Fight Night 125. Thiago Santos is in your crosshairs February 3rd. Best of luck to you, sir.
Thanks a lot, man. I appreciate it.
Yes, sir. Stay in touch. So there you have it. UFC middleweight Anthony Lionheart Smith headed to UFC Fight Night 125 in Brazil on February 3rd. He will be taking on Thiago Santos. Go check that out. In the meantime, you can read me over at bloodyelbow.com. You can follow me on Twitter at @Mercado. If you like this interview, please give it a like. It's the thumbs up down below. Subscribe to my channel right there. Subscribe to Bloody Elbow's YouTube channel right here. Check out those interviews right there. Now go be a good person.